Hi everyone, it's nice to see you all. Today I'm going to be reading a book called Stonewall. It's a nonfiction book about an important time in history, specifically the gay rights movement, or as we say now, the LGBTQ movement. I hope you like it. Stonewall, a building, an uprising, a revolution. Stonewall. It's written by Rob Sanders and illustrated by Jamey Christoph. It's published by Random House. Two stable houses side by side, for more than 100 years we witnessed history. Then came a night when we became a part of history. We were built in the 1840s to board the horses of the affluent in New York City's Greenwich Village. Inside our brick walls, horses whinnied and hammers clanged. Outside, passerbys bustled as carriages rumbled on the cobblestone streets. As time passed, the wealthy residents began to move uptown, taking with them their art clubs, libraries, fine hotels, and theaters. Our neighborhood became a mecca for immigrants arriving from all around the world. Visitors made their way to Greenwich Village. Many of them stayed. Greenwich Village was changing. We changed too. The smell of freshly baked bread began to waft out of our windows and into the neighborhood. The roar of automobiles replaced the rumble of carriages as artists and writers moved in. Contemporary art galleries, experimental theaters, and small restaurants sprang up around us. The village was becoming the creative center of New York City. By 1930, our two buildings were joined together and we became Bonnie's Stonewall Restaurant. Celebrities, artisans, tourists, and local residents lunched at our tables, shoulder to shoulder. There it is. Greenwich Village was a place where you could be yourself and where being different was welcomed and accepted. Sounds like a good place, huh? Newness thumped in the heart of Greenwich Village in the 1950s, vibrating our windows. Musicians played on the streets. Jazz filled the air. Poets performed in restaurants. Artists painted in their studios. The beat movement arrived, and we witnessed it all. Lots of creative people. Leading up to the 1960s, our neighborhood welcomed gays and lesbians, men who loved men and women who loved women. We were a home for people who were told that they didn't fit in or belong. You can see different people, they're all accepted here in Greenwich Village. It's nice. We had welcomed all kinds of people before, so we knew what to do. In 1967, we swung open our doors and became the Stonewall Inn. Gay men and women from throughout the city and the country came to meet old and new friends, free to be themselves inside our walls. So the Stonewall Inn is providing somewhere where anyone can be themselves, whatever that might mean to them. Women and men, young and old, teenagers, transgender people, drag queens, veterans, business people, students, people of different colors, religions, and cultures gathered, chatted, laughed, and danced under our roof. Everyone looks like they're having fun, huh? Others were not as accepting. They thought those who gathered within our walls were too different. We heard the whispered voices of those inside. Loving someone like yourself was illegal. Socializing together could get you arrested. Wearing the wrong clothes could land you in jail. Being gay could get you fired or kicked out of your home. Can you imagine? Some nights we heard fists pounding on our doors. felt angry footsteps stomping across our floor, and saw flashes of glaring light as the police arrested some of those inside. So you can imagine there's these people in Stonewall Inn, being themselves, dancing, hanging out with their friends, and here come the police to arrest them for just being themselves. After each raid, those who hadn't been arrested left quietly, angrily, disappearing into the darkness. We stood tall and kept opening our doors. People kept coming. But the police raids kept coming too. We couldn't stop them. In the steaming early morning hours of June 28, 1969, under a nearly full moon, another raid began. This is a raided premises. Police Department, City of New York. "Police!" a voice shouted. "We're taking the place." Officers stormed through our doors, lining up the people inside, demanding IDs, detaining some, arresting others. This time, those not arrested didn't disappear in the night. Instead, they stood defiantly in the street and on the sidewalk under our rusty sign. This time, they weren't quiet. As the ones arrested were led to police cars and patrol wagons, the anger of the growing crowd was lit. "Why don't you do something?" yelled the woman as she was forced into a police car. Sounds like the woman's frustrated with people that are just standing around, right? Let's see what they do. Immediately, the spark of anger grew into a smoldering resistance. Shouts and screams echoed off bricks. Fists thrust in the air. We saw the faces of the crowd and felt their rage. The Stonewall Uprising had begun. The police, shocked by the defiance of the crowd, rushed back in and barricaded themselves inside. So it looks like the people are standing up against the police because they know what the police is doing is not right. Our friends stood outside trying to force open our doors. Our windows were shattered. Smoke drifted through our rooms. We stood firm. Years of silent anger inflamed the crowd. The police called for help, and it soon arrived. The fires were extinguished. The police came back outside, but the crowd's anger was not extinguished. "Gay power," the protesters shouted. "We want freedom." The police had never seen anything like it before. Neither had we. And it wasn't over. The Stonewall Uprising continued on and off for several days and nights. A new day was dawning for the gay rights movement. The change had begun here, inside our walls at the Stonewall Inn. Here, there's a little note that says, for the gay rights movement, it says, now known as the LGBTQ rights movement. On June 28, 1970, our windows looked out on men and women gathering to celebrate the first anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising. It says, "Gay is good, gay pride." At first, hundreds marched, then thousands of women and men, young and old, teenagers, transgender people, drag queens, veterans, business people, students, people of different colors, religions, and cultures, and their friends and families joined to parade through the streets of New York City. "Say it clear, say it loud, gay is good, gay is proud," they chanted. So it's not only people who identify as being LGBTQ, it's other people that also believe in just people being treated fairly and equally, right? Despite your orientation. Many things are different now. Some things have changed. Even some laws have changed. Now, two men who love each other or two women who love each other can marry. We know. We've seen their happy faces snapping photos outside our door. We've heard their footsteps walking side by side along our floors. We've felt their love. Each year in June, people all over the world celebrate the movement for LGBTQ rights, a movement that has come so far, a movement that still has further to go. They celebrate inside and outside our walls. They celebrate freedom. They celebrate equality. It all began one night here at the Stonewall Inn when 2 old horse stables became a part of history. And that's the end. Here's a photograph of the actual Stonewall Inn in New York City. I like that story because it shows us an important day in history and an important movement for the LGBTQ movement, which I think is really important. Even if you don't necessarily identify as being gay or transgendered, I, for one, identify with believing in equal rights for everyone. I hope you liked that read aloud. I know it was a little long, but it was a good story. It's nice to read to you all, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.